Patriot Nation Radio.
What's up, everybody?
Live.
This is Jordan Page. In light of the recent events in Oregon, I just wrote a song that I want to share with you. This is called The Ballad of Lavoy Finicum. Subtext, Cowboys Stand for Freedom. He was a man who loved to walk the land, turn his cheek but also take a stand. When his conviction called, he followed what he felt was right. Well, there's no telling just what time will bring. You can live for nothing or for everything, but when the pushes come to shove and tell me, will you find? I'm only talking about a cowboy stand for freedom. I'm just talking about a name carved in a stone. A friend and brother to anyone. He's riding off into the setting sun. Drive on, cowboy, he's heading home. Well, there's almost right and then there's nearly wrong as you live your life from sunrise to dawn, and then it's over and the moment's gone. You can testify to things unseen, but the world is blind, can't see a thing. All you can do is try to be a human being. I'm only talking about a cowboy stand for freedom. I'm just talking about a name carved in a stone. A friend and brother to anyone. He's riding off in the setting sun. Drive on, cowboy, he's heading home. I know not what course other men may take. I can't see that far down the road. But as for me and mine, make no mistake, the weight of justice is a heavy load, and I'm living by code. He left his home to go and take a stand as boys rang out across the deafened land, and in the end it was a bullet that exposed the line. A truth remembered is a battle won, though his murder cannot be undone. It rings out like an echo, thundering across the night. Well, here's to all the cowboys who stand for freedom. Why do we watch them from afar with hearts of stone? He's riding off to the setting sun. The thoughts of many from the voice of one. Well, drive on, cowboy, your work is done. Well, Godspeed, cowboy, will carry on.
Excuse me. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Jordan Page, the ballad of Boy Finicum. Check out jordanpagemusic.com. Excuse me. And you can catch all his stuff, his tour dates, his merchandise. He's got a CD, Liberty, for sale, and an EP. Go check it out, jordanpagemusic.com. And this is a public service announcement quick from my friend, Pastor Sylvester Bland, Home Churches International. The United Saints of America Feed the Beast No More campaigns for decades now in the name of fun, food, and entertainment. Conservatives, Christians, and patriots have created a monster. Unknowingly, after we spent billions of our hard-earned dollars supporting these corporations and their sponsors, we now see their plan. They systematically have bought politicians to spread their immoral social agenda. They have sued in court and have successfully closed down some businesses. Enough is enough. Let's feed the beast no more. Join the national boycott, targeted now 8 corporations and sponsors. To see the official list, head over to www.theunitedsaintsofamerica.us or call Pastor Bland at 951-360-3399. And that number again, 951-360-3399. Next, they'll be coming for our jobs, churches, and our religious freedom, so let's feed that beast no more, folks. United Saints of America.us. Check it out, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, for Pastor Sylvester Bland's own radio show. Don't miss it. He's doing great things. Home Churches International, building churches without walls, folks. He's a great man. Check him out. Cannot go wrong. And we're going to kick off this show. Tonight we're going to be doing Constitution 101 on Patriot Nation Radio, episode number 2 of this series, where we will be slowly but surely educating the folks on the Constitution, because it has become apparent to me through all these things that I see that folks really don't know much about the Constitution. Yes, they understand maybe the Declaration of Independence. We know the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth and maybe Amendment and the Fifth. But how many people know the complete Bill of Rights, all 10 amendments, what they are? I was asking around today, and came to my mind that, for crying out loud, what's the Third Amendment? So even me, who supports the Constitution and loves the Constitution, how it was written by our forefathers, does not know everything about the Constitution. So this is an education, not only for some of my listeners, because many of you maybe do know the Constitution, and I know you do. Of course, look at our friends that are locked up in Oregon right now. A lot of them are well-versed in the Constitution, but not every patriot is versed in the Constitution. Excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather, got a little bit of a cold, so bear with me. But not every single person is in tune, patriot, American, with the Constitution, what it says, and what it means. And so that's why we come up with this great idea to do Constitution 101 on Patriot Nation Radio with our friend, the Lady Federalist, Char Signs. Char, what's up? Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing great. Not much up this week, just same thing. I do want to let folks know that the Lady Federalist with Char Signs will not be airing this Friday night, because we'll have a special episode on Saturday during the day, March 5th, from Austin. I'll be attending the Boy Finicum rally in Austin. Shalise Finicum will be there. I'll have the opportunity to interview her. Yeah, it's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to meeting her. I'll be there representing the media for World Integrity News Network and We Are One America. So I'll be able to broadcast live from there, and I'll be able to, I think I'm going to be allowed to have 2 hours there during our rally. It's scheduled at 1 p.m. in Austin at the state, goodness gracious, my brain is just not working. We're going to be there at the State Capitol building, and so everyone in Texas within the Austin area is invited, and you can go to the page, The Lady Federalist, to see the event. Look it up. I'll be reposting it every day this week so that you can find it. If Austin's too far to go, I know that Fort Worth and Amarillo and Tyler and other, I believe Houston and some other cities in Texas. This is a national rally. It's not just a Texas thing. So check your state to see if you're going to have a rally on March 1st to attend.
March 5th.
March 5th, rather. Yes, March 5th to attend. This is to get things out there, not just to remember and memorialize Lavoie, but to carry on the message that he started.
Yes, indeed. And, folks, March 5th, if you just go onto Facebook and search National Stand By Me for Liberty Rally, it'll come up. Our Florida event is at 400 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida, from 2 to 5 p.m. And the nieces of Mr. Finicum will be joining them, and they'll be speaking out there. Jessica Egger and Shelley Forth will be speaking at this rally starting at 2 o'clock, 400 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida, from 2 to 5 p.m. The National Stand By Me for Liberty rally going coast to coast, border to border, throughout this country this Saturday. So if you can make it out to one of these rallies, please do. And I will be mentioning this rally and the national rally every day this week, as we got 4 shows lined up. Wednesday I have a Libertarian candidate for president. I think this Wednesday is Austin Peterson. And then Thursday I have Cecil Anthony Ince. He'll be on. We're going to be interviewing both of these gentlemen back-to-back nights, just because folks don't have any clue. Most folks don't know that there is a third party putting candidates up. Very good candidates, mind you. Austin Peterson happens to be the front runner in all the polls that I've been seeing in the Libertarian Party, but Cecil Anthony Ince is right in there, too, in the mix. He's pulling in the middle. I think there's 8 Libertarian candidates running this time around. Just type it in, folks, Libertarian Party presidential candidates, and they'll all come up. You'll be able to see pictures, bios, everything. You'll be able to find it all. They're out there. And we'll try to get them on here one by one, so that you can get an idea of what's running and who's running and really what the Libertarian Party is about. Pretty much the Libertarian Party is about you're a sovereign person, and you do what you got to do with it as long as it's within the bounds of the Constitution. The Constitution is the rule of law. So if you like those things, then you should probably be a Libertarian, which I am. I'm a registered Libertarian.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Very important.
I do.
This document right here that I have in my hand, I'm looking at it right now. Folks, I don't know if you know, but the First Amendment is seriously being violated while martial law is the rule in Oregon, as certain members of the press have had their First Amendment rights violated egregiously by the federal government, who really don't have any lawful business in Oregon in this situation. But, of course, Sheriff Ward allowed these turds and gave them jurisdiction and authority, apparently. So they're out there and they're performing martial law throughout Burns, Oregon. That's right, folks. This is a test to see how America will react. And apparently they're not reacting the way I would suspect they would react on the martial law. I would think there would be protests and anger. But, of course, under martial law, there's no constitutional rule, and you don't have a First Amendment right if you're under martial law scenario. So who knows? I don't know what's going on out there. I'm not there. I wish I could do something more than just talk about it. But, you can donate. There's donation pages and stuff like that to defense funds. Look on my page. You can find it. But now on to the First Amendment of the Constitution, folks, which is being seriously eroded every single day, piece by piece,
yes, it is.
bit by bit, chunk by chunk. Why don't we read the First Amendment first off and see exactly what it says. You want to read that, Char? You got that handy?
I do. The First Amendment, which originally was meant to be the third article to the Constitution, but the First Amendment is Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, comma, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, colon, or abridging the freedom of speech, comma, or of the press, colon, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, comma, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, period.
Yes. Now, you could hear as Char put the punctuation in there. There's a reason for putting the punctuation in there. Explain a little bit why you added the punctuation, saying colon and comma, etc., because that is very important to the definition of the First Amendment.
Well, because our founders were very specific and learned and intelligent men who knew the power of language, and that language has to be written in a specific manner. Some of our founders were actually lawyers, and they knew that in order for a document to be legal, it had to be written specifically in a specific fashion. Anyone who's ever read a contract knows that contract language is very important. We have all heard of or read about cases being thrown out because of misspellings or punctuation errors in the cases, and those loopholes being used to allow the alleged criminals being let go, perhaps being retried or charges being refiled later on. We don't know. But a lot of times this can, not a lot of times, but sometimes this can happen. So our founders were very specific in the punctuation, the words, the verbs, the language, and the way that they put it together so that this contract, which is what our Constitution with the Bill of Rights is meant to be. It is a contract between the several states and the federal government.
Right.
It's
and what
a
did
contract.
they mean? What did they mean by make no law respecting an establishment? What exactly does that mean? Because that's not how we would write or read normally. That seems like they put that there specifically to make a point.
Well, there is a point to that because most everyone that's done even a basic study of history knows that England has a church called the Church of England or the Anglican Church. It's a Protestant branch of the church, and that is the official religion for England. And other nations have official religions or official churches. We in the United States do not and will not, because of the First Amendment, do not have an official religion assigned with the government. If you were to look in the encyclopedia, you may find that the United States is listed as being predominantly Christian, or it may put a statistic saying, X percentage of the inhabitants or residents, or however it might be worded, of the United States say that they are Christian. But you will never, ever find any statistics listing that the United States is or is officially a Christian nation or any other religion assigned to us as a nation. Because we do not have an official an official religion because the founders established it that way.
Well, as far as I can tell, contrary to what President Obama believes, that we are not a Christian nation. Our Constitution was written on Christian principles, and Christian men wrote and signed the Constitution. Was there any other religious sects that signed the Constitution? I don't know offhand if any of the guys are Jewish or Muslim or anything.
Yes, actually, we did have a founder who, I don't know that he actually signed on anything, but did have a Jewish participant in the Revolution who was very important and had a huge contribution financially to the Revolution because he knew that the establishment of a nation separate from Europe that would have the constitutional freedoms, as we've referred to them, or natural law, which is actually what the nation is founded on, and natural law from nature and nature's creator is what our nation is founded on. Those who believe in Christianity will say that they are Christian principles because they are similar. Okay? For every 2 quotes that says it's a Christian nation, you will find one quote from a founder that will say that it's not Christian principles because of this First Amendment, okay? But you also need to look at those quotes in their full perspective from where they're taken. A lot of times they're taken from long essays or other writings whereby they can be even contradictory in and of themselves from the person that they're quoted. But be that as it may, there were Quakers that some argue are Christian in their faith, but definitely different from your average Protestant or Baptist or Catholic. There was, like I said, there was a Jewish man that had a lot to do with financing the revolution, and there were people that called themselves deists, and there were some that just had no faith at all. They could be considered agnostic in their belief system. Those who were scientists, because the nation was founded during a period of time that was known as the Enlightenment period, where science and technology was making a huge growth in period of time. And so these men and women themselves were exploring processes. Think of it as like a neo-Renaissance, if you will, but more in the technology kind of phase. And so they were relying upon their faith. And what I was thinking about earlier today, and it kind of came to me, was that the founders were wise enough to know that a true statesman does not guide a nation by his religion. Rather, his religion helps him to properly guide a nation.
Right. They were very smart fellas back in the day. To think that they were so smart as to punctuate and write it in such a way.
Right.
But it's obvious to me today that a redress of grievances is never going to happen. They've become overly powerful because how many times have people went to D.C.? You got the Million Mask March happens every year. You got 2 million bikers to D.C.'s happening every year. You got 2 million trucks to D.C.'s happening every year. You got people every year on anniversary 9/11 rolling into the city of Washington, D.C. to beg for a redress of grievances, and not one person can even walk through the front door of the House, of the Congress. They can't even get in.
Right.
If you're a regular citizen and you knock on the door, they're going to turn you away. They won't let you in to talk to a single person.
Right.
You can't get in. How can you redress your grievances if you can't get in the front door as a citizen? In your own property, that's your property as a citizen. Your tax money built that. They live in that 10 square miles of D.C. That's where they're supposed to be, and you should be able to go in there anytime you want and speak to anybody you want at any time. I don't see why those doors are locked and why we can't get in there. And they won't even hear us,
No, they don't listen to us, and that was a lot of the argument that the anti-federalists had with regard to how the representatives within the House of Representatives were to be elected, how many were to be elected, how they were to be apportioned amongst the states, and so on and so forth. And it was something that I discussed on my show Friday with regard to the 2016 elections. We're putting so much emphasis on the upcoming presidential election, and yet we're ignoring the 469 seats, 435 of the House. The entire House every 2 years comes up for re-election, and 34 senatorial seats that are coming up for re-election in 2016. And yet it's absolute silence in the mainstream media with regard to same. I think there's 16 or 19 representatives that are simply retiring. But be that as it may, whether they're retiring or looking on to move upward into the Senate or go back home to be a governor or whatever, all of those seats are coming up for re-election because that's how it's done. Every 2 years they're up for re-election. And we need to focus on that because the House of Representatives, they are our representatives. They are to be our direct voice as the people. And we need to look at libertarian candidates, independent candidates, Green Party, whatever party it is, but we need to get away from the D's and the R's because the D's and the R's are the left and the right wing of the same bird. They pretty much do the same thing. They're dinos, they're rhinos, whatever you want to call them. We gave both houses Republican majorities in 2014, and absolutely nothing has happened in the last 2 years. So it's time that we clean house and put in there real men and women. And the anti-federalists who wrote in the anti-federalist papers under pseudonyms, and there's been a lot of speculation as to who these men were, but they wrote under pseudonyms over a period of weeks, publishing in the newspapers in New York. They argued that they would be the aristocracy, the oligarchy, and men who were probably quiet but still, like mercantile, because, of course, they had to deal with the time period, the historical time period that they were in, but mercantile people that were already kind of up there, upper middle class type of folks, which is what we're seeing representing us in D.C.
Yeah.
What we have now are career politicians, the vast majority of them lawyers, okay, upper middle class, and they're out of touch with the everyday man and woman who are working factory jobs, who are working 9-to-5 jobs, 2 and 3 jobs at a time, bussing tables and going to school and trying to make ends meet to keep their families fed and a roof over their heads. Joining the military to have access to college and to have a roof over their heads and food in their family's stomach, when they really don't necessarily want to even go to war, but they see that as a solution.
That's kind of where they backed us into that. They backed us all right into that.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary stuff. Now, Pete Santilli is on lockdown, and they're not letting him out anytime soon. They are really, because if you folks watched any of the live streaming stuff that was being put out by the Pete Santilli show, whether you like Pete or you don't like Pete, he was doing a great service up there, getting the truth out to the people. And
he was.
He's under solitary confinement right now. And do you know, I don't have any clue what happened to his equipment and his stuff and what his recordings and everything else that he's done. Have they confiscated that as evidence? I believe they have.
Well, I don't know exactly because, of course, the feds are claiming that they have all this research that they have to do, and, of course, the judge is telling them you have until, I want to say the 3rd, that they have until March 3rd. It may be the 4th, but that they have until this week to provide discovery to the defendants because it's been obviously more than a month that they've been locked up. And what is going on with Pete Santilli, and those who follow me know that I actually did a report on him calling him Pete Shamtilli because I don't have any love for the man. I consider him a shock jock, as he was referred to by the judge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that he is a true journalist because of some of the things that I've seen about him. But be that as it may, he has the freedom of press. He has freedom of speech. And he has the right to do and say what he does. And when you look at the indictment that was used, that FBI Special Agent Catherine Armstrong wrote up before the 26th, this was the indictment. It's 32 pages long. It's out there. It's available. And I'll be more than happy to post a link to it on this show's page. I'll look it up, pull it up, and I'll post it again. It's been redacted. The only redaction that's been made was dates of birth on the individuals because the original had their dates of birth. That's the only redaction that's been made from the original. Take that at my word. But 32-page indictment. Other than the supposed testimony from the person named Citizen, who is the alleged BLM employee, every single bit of it is either Facebook postings by the individuals there or Pete Santilli's own reports. So the federal government used over 32 pages. This FBI agent used public information, free speech, and press by an alternative news agent, an alternative journalist, free press, none of it, absolutely none of it indicating brandishing of a weapon, and everyone needs to go to a dictionary and look up what the word brandish means. Because if these folks were brandishing weapons, then every law enforcement officer brandishes a weapon every single time they put on their uniform. Okay?
Yep.
These folks were not brandishing weapons.
Give me 1 second real fast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be going into overtime. And to hear the overtime session of Patriot Nation Radio's Constitution 101, head over to www.blogtalkradio.com/Patriot Nation. Or hit up my pages shortly after the show, and it will be posted there, and you can hear the rest of this interview. We're rocking and rolling. Constitution 101 on Patriot Nation Radio. All right. Now, where were we? We're talking about Pete.
Yes.
And what they're doing to...
Well, the indictment is a sham. why any magistrate would sign off on this indictment based on public information that anyone could have gathered together and sworn and said, to the best of my knowledge, these people are conspiring together on one charge, conspiring to prevent a law enforcement officer through threat, coercion, or intimidation to discharge their, not law enforcement officer, a federal agent from performing their duty through threat, coercion, or intimidation. And none of the things that they cited were threatening, coercive, or intimidating. Not a single bit of it.
I think that they don't have a leg to stand on it, but they're going to railroad these guys anyway. I believe maybe possibly they might have reductions of charges from felonies to maybe misdemeanors and do time served and have some probation and be on their way, because they really don't have a leg to stand on based on the case they presented to the grand jury. And the fact that there's even an indictment against these guys worded in the way that it's worded is pretty funny, because I watched hours and hours of video from Ammon Bundy, Lavoy Finicum, Pete Santilli walking around, going to the town hall meetings, live feeds, and stuff like that, and not once did I see any threat. And I bet if they walk around and canvass the neighborhood, they won't find anybody there that felt threatened. In fact, from what I seen and heard and was told, the people were still coming to the refuge to enjoy the beauty of the refuge while these guys were there.
Right, and some other facts that need to come out here is that both the Bureau of Land Management and the Fish and Wildlife Services were ordered not to go to work once the refuge was taken.
Right.
Once those folks occupied the refuge on a weekend, no less, these employees were ordered not to report to work. So
right.
how
and
can they
would
be
have been
threatened, coerced, or intimidated from discharging their duties if they are being ordered by their supervisors to not attend work? How does that happen?
I bet if they went to work, they would all been like, hey, yeah, here's your desk, have a seat, go to work, we'll be over here. I guarantee you that's how it would have been. They would have maybe tried to educate them. They would have sat down with them, talked about the Constitution, showed them what they were doing was wrong, and oh my God, I can't believe you're doing it. But I don't believe that they would have impeded them from doing their jobs if they came to work that following Monday. I do not believe that in a minute. I think they would have sat down at their desks and they would have went to work and they would have walked around the refuge and did whatever it is they had to do. They would have drove their vehicles and fixed fences or whatever it is they do when they're there at the refuge without any impediment by the people that were there. Basically, it was like a sit-in from 1969 college sit-in where the kids sat around in colleges and said, no, we won't go. You know, it's the same idea, except the folks that did those sit-ins are now Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, and the liberal leftists that have taken over the government. That's what I believe.
Right, and let's not forget our former Loretta Lynch's predecessor. What was his name?
That was Eric Holder.
Yes.
Yep.
He actually did perform genuine damage to an office at his university, and he made it to the head of the Department of Justice without any criminal charges being brought against him.
That is absolutely
insane.
How
does that work?
Then you got Bill Ayers.
Does that
Look
work?
at this clown. Bill Ayers blew up the Pentagon, for Christ's sakes. The guy's a professor. He's free, walking the streets. He blew up the freaking Pentagon. You know? The guy's responsible. He killed people in terror attacks. And he's never been charged as a terrorist, and he's a professor at a university in Illinois. He's teaching our kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. How's that guy? And here you got these guys. They want to call them terrorists, militants. They're militants. When you see Ammon Bundy talking to the camera from the refuge, there is not one thing militant about him.
Oh no,
nothing. He's got a cowboy hat on. He wears a
Every interview I've ever seen with Ammon, he's been calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah,
every single
respectful,
time.
Doesn't swear.
Very.
He looks people in the eye. He shakes hands like a man. He is not a militant. He's not a terrorist. None of those guys are.
No.
None of them.
No. Pete
John
Santilli.
Ritzon, that guy's a Marine.
Yes. Now John gets a little bit loud. Yes. But he's a Marine.
And he's kind of funny, too.
He's hilarious. But John's a Marine.
He did some things that made me laugh. Yes.
I mean, let's face it. The man has seen some things and done some things that would probably bring the rest of us to our knees. So I have to give him his props that, and I think we all should give him just a little bit of leeway if he gets a little bit loud and drops the F-bomb now and then. By golly, he's allowed to. If I'm not mistaken, I think that they actually have to go to F-bomb school at Camp. They have to learn how to use the F-bomb 15 times in an 11-word sentence. I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, but I think that's part of the Marine Corps basic training. I don't know. I'd have to check with my fellow Marine veterans. But be that as it may, he's been there. He's done that. By golly, we need to give him a free pass on being a little bit animated. But the man's heart is in the right place.
Yes,
Every last one of them did what they felt was right. And the argument shouldn't be did they go about it correctly? That's not the argument. They did what was right. They stood on the principles for liberty, on the Constitution that was written by our founders that has been so crapped upon by our federal government.
It's
that
really
it's
scary.
Not even funny. It's beyond frightening.
Well, I say it all the time. I believe that the Constitution is, by most Americans today, is deemed just a museum piece written by a bunch of old slave owners. And they don't realize the genius behind this document. And they're very ignorant and closed-minded. I had a conversation with a guy at work today, and it came to my own attention that I don't know the whole Constitution, but I do know it more than most. There are a lot of things in here that I don't know, and that's what prompted me to learn this and do this series with someone who knows it a lot better than I do and looks at it and studies it and understands it a lot better than I do. And I think it's very important, folks, that you learn this and you get on board with Patriot Nation Radio's Constitution 101 with the Lady Federalist Char because it's very, very important. Like I said last week, there are men and women taking an oath to a document. They have no idea what they're taking an oath to. They don't take it seriously, all of them. Some of them take them seriously, i.e. John Ritzheimer. The man takes his oath to the Constitution seriously. And there are many, many people who do. I've taken an oath at a meeting, a mass oath with a whole group of people at an event, and I take it seriously. I don't like what's happening to our country, but it's important that we know what we're taking an oath to. I took an oath at that time, and I knew some of the Bill of Rights, and I knew the Declaration of Independence, but there's a lot of articles, sections, clauses, paragraphs, all kinds of things within the Constitution. It's not just the Bill of Rights. After the 10th Amendment, there's still 17 more amendments to go that are the Constitution. It's just the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. A lot of folks don't even know that when I speak to them about it. Do you know how many amendments are in the Bill of Rights? 3? The number, people have no idea.
Right.
And it's really scary that people don't know enough about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to know that there's 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights. And it's really disturbing how far gone we are as a nation when it comes to the education of our founding documents and the history of our country and what brought us to where we are right now, and that our very founders knew exactly what we were facing and that we were going to face it.
Yes.
Yet they've rushed on it over the... Yeah, they were psychics or something. They obviously knew that the Constitution was going to be legislated to death. And that's what it is. They legislate our rights piece by piece, little by little, until they're all gone. And we're almost to the point where our rights are almost all gone. And the people are still sleeping, and we need to wake up. I'm hoping that if anything comes out of the murder of Lavoy Finicum, is that a sleeping giant wakes. And this weekend, on the 5th, there will be rallies across this country. Tell folks again, Char, where you're going to be, and I'm going to also mention my local rally again right here at the end of the show so that folks are informed.
I am personally going to be in Austin, Texas, at the Capitol building. I will be there with Shalise Finicum and others. I have been given the honor of being allowed to speak to our natural rights and about our Constitution. I hope to be able to pick up a portion of Lavoie's torch and the rest of everyone else's torch that are now currently unlawfully incarcerated, and speak to those principles of liberty that they were standing on, and to help educate whomever is there, whether they be friend or foe, and help them to understand those principles of liberty, of life, liberty, property, and pursuit of happiness that were established for us so carefully and meticulously by our founders, and maybe wake up some people. And anyone who knows Texas knows that Austin is a rather liberal town. So I expect that we will have quite a few folks there that are not fully aware of exactly how unfree we really are.
Yeah, and don't forget, folks, up in Portland, there's a counter protest over at the wherever they're having their protest in Portland. There's going to be a counter protest, and I want to mention that Orlando from 2 to 5, 100 South Orange Avenue in Orlando, Florida, this Saturday, like I said, from 2 to 5, is the Stand for Lavoie rally. This is coast to coast. And don't forget, folks, to tune in again next Monday for Constitution 101 with our friend Char. And she'll be, like she said, at Austin. Can you give out the address so people can tune in Saturday?
Well, it'll be the typical the Lady Federalist with Char signs. Once I create the show, which I will do before the 4th, because that's when the folks I'm riding with will be picking me up. We'll be making a few stops along the way, probably around the 3rd, and get that link out there. And as I have Wi-Fi available on my travels, I will continue to share that link. But it will pretty much be the same thing. It'll just be a special live production from the rally on the 5th. The actual address for the rally will be the Capitol Building in Austin. Anyone can find it. It's rather easy to locate. And it's the Texas Stand By Me Rally for Patriots. And I want to go ahead and say that the one that's being held in Amarillo is going to be at the BLM office. Apparently that was the only BLM office we could locate in Texas. And so if you want to go out and say something to the BLM, by all means, show up in Amarillo.
Amen. Folks, that's our good friend, the Lady Federalist, Char Signs, right there. Look for their events on the Saturday broadcast. Shalise Finicum will be there, and that should be a good one. And I want everybody to head on over to MadisonRising.com and check out tour dates and information. Buy some merchandise. They are on tour. They are on the Defend Freedom Tour. Check out defendfreedomtour.org and get on board. Join Madison Rising, the world's most patriotic rock band. Char, I want to thank you again for coming on, and I want to leave everybody with this. This is the Star Spangled Banner by Madison Rising. Good night, and God bless America. This one's for you guys. Take care until we meet again, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, www.blogtalkradio.com/Patriot Nation. Good night, and God bless America.
Told you at least that you didn't get the catches on your nose and broke her head. Yeah,